So all the rave right now, or is it rage right now? I think it's rave. All the rave right now is around this Neapolitan style pizza, or pizza Napolitano. The thing with this pizza is you usually can only buy it in restaurants, or if you make it at home, you need a really expensive pizza oven, and you have to get some gas and charcoal or wood and manage that. So I thought to myself, instead of spending hundreds of dollars on one of these pizza ovens, maybe I just try and make one myself. So I went on the internet, did a little bit of research, and realized for about $30, I can make my own pizza oven. You're gonna need a few key ingredients, and I'm gonna show you what those are. The first thing you're gonna need is you're gonna need flour. Now this isn't just any ordinary all-purpose flour. You're gonna need 00 flour, and importantly, when you're buying your 00 flour, you're gonna make sure that it's for pizza. Secondly, you're gonna need some mozzarella. Ideally, buffalo mozzarella is what's traditional. And third, you're gonna need some crushed tomatoes. So I went out and sourced these. These are San Marzano. These are actually not crushed tomatoes, these are whole tomatoes. Crushed tomatoes work too. I like using whole tomatoes. It's really a personal preference. If you want to make it true traditional, get whole tomatoes. Then you're gonna need a few other common ingredients when making pizza. You're gonna need some yeast. I just use the dry yeast. I buy it on the shelf at the store. You're gonna need some salt, water, a pizza paddle, and that's about it. Oh yeah, and you're gonna need an oven, but we're gonna get to that shortly. We're gonna go ahead and let that dough sit covered for at least an hour before we cut it off into individual slices. Now, we're gonna get started on the sauce. You can see here, I have to the right of me all of the ingredients that I'm gonna use in the sauce. That's right, there's only 5 ingredients here. We've got an onion, we're gonna use about a quarter of this. We've got an entire bulb. This is a bulb, the individual pieces are cloves. Don't make that mistake like I did once early on following recipes. I added an entire bulb instead of a clove. It tasted delicious, I don't care what people say. A tablespoon of salt, a teaspoon of pepper. I like to use oregano. I've got a tablespoon of oregano. You don't need it. And 1 can of peeled whole San Marzano tomatoes. There's actually basil inside of here too, which is great because I don't have fresh basil yet. I've got some seedlings seeding, but they're not yet producing yet. It's still springtime. And some olive oil. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna get some olive oil inside of this pot, and we're just gonna put it on a light simmer, and then in the meantime, I'm gonna go ahead and cut up some onions and some garlic. Go ahead and chop very carefully, obviously using proper knife etiquette here, 1/4 of an onion, and I'm gonna chop 2 pieces of garlic. Make sure you peel them first. Go ahead and add the onion first into the pot of sizzling oil and wait about 5 minutes or so, and then you're gonna go ahead and add the garlic and slightly turn down the heat after you do that. And while they're sizzling, we're ready to go ahead and add the canned tomatoes. So go ahead and get your can of tomatoes. This one actually has a can opener built right into it. I actually prefer the ones where you use the little old style turny thing, but I'm sure there's a name for that. Go ahead and get it open. Try not to get it all over your shirt. Probably try to put this down somewhere where you're doing that. Smells delicious. Now we've got to get this can of tomatoes inside of that pot without splashing it all over myself. So do this methodically and do it very, very slowly. What I like to do is do it actually on the edge of one of the pot so that they don't splash down. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and add my oregano, my salt, and my pepper. Adding the oregano, salt, and pepper. Go ahead and give it a good stir to mix it all in. While we've got the sauce cooking and the dough still sitting for that hour after we've covered it, we're gonna get started on making the pizza oven. This pizza oven costs about $30 to make. And I think it actually costs quite less because I may have borrowed some of the materials from my neighbor, but I promised to give them back. I swear. So, how does this pizza oven work? Well, basically it's an oven that I'm gonna put on top of my existing gas barbecue. And to do that, we need really two things. We need some bricks that can withstand some heat. So I've got some borrowed bricks. I got more outside by the barbecue. And you're gonna need a pizza stone. You can typically get them at Home Depot for around 10 bucks or so. This is gonna be the majority of your cost. You're gonna need two of them. One for the top and one for the bottom. So we're out here at my barbecue. We're gonna go ahead and start making that pizza oven. So the first thing you're gonna need to do is put that bottom layer on and then start building out from there. This is the bottom layer. It's gonna wanna sit as the foundation. This is where we're actually gonna be cooking the pizza on. And then the trick here is to build a cove all around this bottom layer so that the heat radiates back down onto the pizza. And that's what's really gonna separate this from just cooking pizza on a regular barbecue. This reminded me of playing with building blocks in kindergarten. It's really not that difficult. Just go ahead and place your blocks around your cooking stone and then get your second cooking stone and place it on top. Voila. And there we have it, a $30 homemade pizza oven. So we're gonna go ahead and get it warmed up because a pizza oven like this usually will take about an hour to warm up to temperature. So the dough's been added for about an hour. I'm gonna go ahead and uncover it and see what we have. So we have one piece of dough here. So what we're gonna go ahead and do is measure it by weight, and then we're gonna separate it into 3 individual pieces. Very carefully take the dough ball out of the bowl after you uncover it, weigh it, and divide it by approximately 3. This is about 250 grams. And then start cutting the pieces individually. Weigh out approximately 250 grams. I'm using a pizza cutter here. You can use your hands, a knife, whatever you have. Now, after I'm about 250 grams, I'm gonna go ahead and roll it. This technique here is a little bit of an advanced one. The next one I'm gonna show you, anyone can do. It's more of a beginner one. Voila. I'm gonna weigh the second dough here. After I've got 250 grams, I'm just gonna mush it together a little bit. It's probably the technical term. And then this is how you roll it. You just put it on a flat surface and just roll it into itself a couple of times and then turn it 90 degrees and do the same thing again until you have a dough ball. And ideally what you want here is you want to have no seams on top of the ball so that it looks super smooth. Just like that. Slap it a couple times and then put it in the container. After about 40 minutes of simmering, the sauce is ready to go. So go ahead and take it off the heat. Now that our sauce is done, we're gonna go ahead and start to get the dough ready so that we can make the pizza. So I've actually got dough that I made last night. Like a good cooking show, I've always got something ready in the oven, or in this case, it was ready in the fridge. As I shared earlier, after you make the dough, what you wanna do is you wanna let it sit at room temperature for about 8 hours so that it about doubles in size, and then you wanna go ahead and put it in the fridge. Now, remember, when you're putting it in the fridge, to take it out about an hour to an hour and a half before you're ready to make the pizza. You want to ensure that it warms back up to room temperature, otherwise it's going to be hard to stretch. Throw some flour down and then grab your pizza dough and push it down into the flour, flip it and push it back down into the flour. You're going to want to repeat this step about 3 to 4 times. Now, after you've done this, you're going to want to start working the dough. Work it from the inside and work it out just as I'm doing here with my fingers. After you've got the dough about as far out as you can do it, like that, you're gonna wanna go ahead and start to pull the dough. You You can see I'm doing this very quickly here. Your first few times, go slow, take your time. After you finish stretching the dough, go ahead and start making your pizza. Do this relatively quickly because the sauce will make the dough moist, and moisture makes the dough stick to the pizza peel. We're outside now at the barbecue. First step is to check the temperature of the pizza oven. Ideally, you want it between 430 and 475 degrees. We're at 452, that's perfect. So go ahead and add the pizza to the pizza oven. Be careful, it's hot. After about 35 seconds, you want to pull it out and spin it so it doesn't burn on the bottom. Continue to do this every about 35 to 40 seconds. Oops, careful. When you're done, it should look something like this. I ended up eating the whole pizza in just this one sitting, and I said a bunch of words here. Basically, I was just impressed that I could make this pizza with an oven that cost about $30. If you like this video and you want to join me in my next pizza adventure, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And if you like this video, hit like. Thanks for watching. So good.